Another important part of Module 2 is understanding switching domains. Now, we actually did talk about domains in 140, but not in depth. In CNT 150, this concept of broadcast domains and switching domains become really important. And then how we are going to use the switch and the router to help us control these domains. So let's review this again. A collision domain is when you can have collisions, right? If a packets or the data bumps up against each other due to either congestion, poor configuration, half duplex, there's different things that can cause these collisions. Now, switches pretty much eliminate collision domains and they eliminate collisions because now you can do full duplex on a switch. And as a matter of fact, all switches are just automatically set to full duplex. In the days gone by, you would have half duplex, or if you were running hubs, things would be in half duplex. And so it was a problem. Switches have really broadened the way that networks can work. Now, if I switch or change my port to half duplex, then I could still get collisions. Okay. Now, you may remember we've also talked about auto MDIX or auto negotiation. So almost all Cisco switches, as well as Palo Alto switches, Juniper switches, they are all set to full duplex and they are all set with auto negotiation unless you turn that off. And so, which is very common to just to have that on. And that will automatically negotiate your speed and your duplex. So a broadcast domain is wherever the devices are that would receive a broadcast message. So again, if you think about your own house and you have several different devices connected to your house wireless router, that is all part of the same broadcast domain. If you think about our classroom, we're all on the same network, we all use the same default gateway, we are part of the same broadcast domain. Okay, it's all of the devices that are on that LAN. Now, one of the things that we want to do is we want to learn how to control our broadcast domains, not only because of speed, but also security. And it makes it easier for a network administrator to manage. It increases the speed because you'll have less congestion. Think about if you had, 1,000 devices on a big broadcast domain versus you had 100 devices on a broadcast domain. And so there's a couple of different ways that we can control the broadcast domains. Let's just take a look at a broadcast domain. And again, imagine this as wherever, our classroom or a company, right? So if we look here is a large LAN. Okay, the network address is 192.168.10.0/24. And here's our default gateway. And this default gateway is taking care of this entire network off the G00. And so all of these devices are on the same broadcast domain, because if the router were to send a broadcast message, all of those devices would receive that message. So it is a broadcast domain. Now, we really haven't talked about how we can split up this broadcast domain to control it or make it smaller in order to accomplish some of those goals that we talked about, getting faster, better security, more manageable. One way that we could do it is we could think about, well, what makes a broadcast domain? Where's the delineation point? The delineation point is the interface on the router. So one way we could do it is we could take that network address 192.168.10.0/24 and we could do a VLSM. We could subnet it. And I could make this easy and let's just do, so if our first one is 192.168.10.0/24, let's just go ahead and make a second network of 11.0/24. And we can break some of these host devices off and attach them to a separate switch and put them on a different interface on that router. We will then have created two broadcast domains. So we will have less devices on the switch, right? Easier to manage. If we have a security threat that affects one, it won't necessarily affect the other. So let me go ahead and just do that. I'm gonna take this, just moving them. Okay, so now I would assign them to a different network. And again, the one we talked about is the 192.168.11.0. And I would connect this device, this switch, to a different interface on the router. I have now just created two broadcast domains, Again, what makes that determination? It is a separate interface on this router. And we would again assign these devices to a totally different network. It would have a different default gateway. So this address would be set to a different default gateway. Now I have this original broadcast domain, and then I have a second broadcast domain. This is the exciting part. Where we're moving is in the next several modules, we're going to learn how to use VLANs to separate our switches into different broadcast domains. Right now, we don't really know how to do that. All we know is this VLAN 1, and all the ports belong to VLAN 1. But we're going to learn how to assign ports to different VLANs so that we can have multiple broadcast domains associated with one switch and one interface on the router. That's why I want you to understand really well what a broadcast domain is under the way that they currently exist, so that we can better understand what we're doing when we create these new types of broadcast domains on the same devices.